In this video, we're going to take a look at the new and upcoming Lamzu mouse, being the Lamzu Inca. Now, don't take this as a review video, as I've only dabbled with this mouse, so I can't really speak on it right now. I'm not all about first impressions and such, but I am going to dive deep into it. We'll do the build quality test, we'll get those raw measurements, of course, the heat signature test, and then the weight and all that stuff. So we are going to take a deep dive look at it, but as far as my feedback, is it good, is it bad, whatever, I can't really speak on that. But again, a lot of this stuff will answer what is the mouse, is it built good, so on and so forth. Now, before we dive too deep into all of our testing, let's go ahead and take a look at our packaging and what we get inside the packaging. Right over here, as you can see, Lamzu super light wireless mouse. On the front, it's going to say Inca, and they're claiming 40 grams, which we will test later on. And again, you do get up to 8,000 polling rate. On the back side, you're going to get some specs. Right over here, battery life, 20 to 80 hours. Again, that's going to depend on which polling rate you select. Your weight, which again, we'll test later on. Optical switches, a 3950 sensor, and then a couple other specs if you're interested in that. But let's go ahead and pop this open and see what you get. Again, pretty much that traditional Lamzu packaging, really nice. Always pop it open, presented with a little speech right there. Pop this open. You see you have your mouse, and then we have our dongle, the 8K polling dongle, kind of like we've seen on the Maya and stuff. It states Inca right there, 8,000 polling, and then whoopsie, grip on the bottom. As far as the mouse here, you do have the feet on it straight out of the gate. There are no feet on this. I put the feet on this and dabbled with it just a little bit. Over here, we have our little baggie with some goods, being our cable, USB A to C, and then a little manual that really doesn't state anything you don't know, and then the specs like we saw in the back of the box. Inside here, you have your grips and then some replacement feet. As far as the feet that are on it here, it's the exact same feet. I think they leave them off in case you want to go maybe 4 dots or something. I'm not sure, because both included set of feet are the exact same that I have here, and then the replacement ones. So let's go and dive into our tests here. And usually I start with the measurements, but I want to kick it off with the weight to see if it's actually that 40 grams, which I have the feet on it. Again, right out of the box, there are no skates on this. So with skates on, we are going to come in at 42.2. So I think that 40 gram weight is again without any skates on there, which is kind of a weird measurement, because again, we're all going to put some sort of skates on there, but if you put just dots, you definitely get more close to that 40 grams. But even talking about it being at 42, this thing is perfectly balanced, like really, really nice and balanced. You don't feel extra weight in the back, the front, or the mid. It feels very nice. Now let's go and get a look at some raw, real measurements here, not just manufacturer's numbers pasted on the screen. And we look here front to back, we're coming in at 121. If you look at our grip width, right in the middle by the sensor, which is where our buttons are, we're getting 54, pretty much right at 55. If we come towards the top of the mouse up by the buttons, come out a little bit more without me pressing the buttons at 57. Now you do have a flare out on the back end. If you look at it like this, right on the tail, right back here by the skates is pretty much where it starts flaring out at 62.5. Now, this flare out is pretty steady going front to back. If you see the light shining off of here, it doesn't like swoop in drastically. So if I come back here where your palm will kind of be, you're still staying around 60. So it doesn't get like super thin and then flare out. Hopefully you're catching my drift right there. As far as the lift off of the buttons up at the front, not too drastic. It does go down a little bit, right around 15 pretty much. But I think the measurement a lot of people would be interested on this mouse is the hump and the position. And I want to show you this here first. So look at the sensor and then look at your side buttons, right? So sensor, side buttons, it pretty much flows right together. That sensor goes right in between that crease. And if we look at that measurement right here from sensor to buttons, it's at 39. And that hump is not right there where the sensor is. It actually humps up a little bit more towards the back here, which is going to come in right around 40. So it's a gradual flare. It's nothing like a pointy hump right here in the back. It kind of just flows gradually and continuously goes in the back as far as the hump and the flare out. And I think where you're going to be able to see this a lot better is with the thermal test here, where the heat will transfer over onto the mouse. Now, of course, this is going to differ from hand shape and how you grip the mouse. But as far as me, this is a smaller mouse. So I'm going to get some heat transferred over to this, and hopefully you can see it somewhat here, at least with my hand size being medium to large. When I take my hand off the mouse, if we can get the camera not to freeze, you'll see right there. You have that hump in the back, and then it's rolling right from my fingers. So what I want you to see here is fingers right back here to the hot spot, and then right on the outside back there. Nothing is going towards the back end there as it's not in my palm fully. I'm pretty much just relaxing the mouse on my hand. Now, if you do have smaller hands or you use that really serious claw grip where your fingers are raised towards the front, you can lock it back into your palm. This is not a grip I use. I kind of relax my hand on the mouse since I am an ergo fan, right? So I kind of go with that same grip on any kind of mouse. But if you were to pull it back like this, you can see that hump will really go gradually across the entire palm. So back here, and it flows. There's no separation or gaps, as I was stating how that hump really flows with the entire mouse. So you're seeing it go from the front back here and then towards the back. So whichever way you grip this mouse, I think it's pretty nice and universal, as it'll fill out your palm if you got a smaller hand, or again, it will flow with the front of your fingers if you're kind of using it a little more relaxed. Hopefully this thermal test really justified and helped out showing how this mouse really flows as far as its curves. Now, while we're on the topic of shape, I want to talk about a couple comparisons here, and I think there's really only two mice we need to compare this up to. I have a Zowie ZA over here, and then I have the Zowie U2. Now, I think a lot of people have been stating, oh, it's really ZA-ish, you know? Now, I prefer the bigger ZA. This is a Zowie ZA11, and I've been a massive ZA fan since day one. But I want to show you it right like this. Take a look at that hump right there. So you're seeing hump is definitely more towards the back, and it falls off a lot quicker. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the Lamzu here. It's just a little bit more gradual. But the biggest thing is when you look at like this, how I talked about it really flaring and flowing with the mouse. The ZA, that hump is definitely more centered right here. I don't know, would we say a little bit more rounded on the top, when over here on the Lamzu, it's a little bit more flat. And that's the reason I pull out the U2. The U2 is kind of like that, even though the hump is definitely a little bit more flat on the top and a little bit lower. But as far as the top portion up here where that hump really flows with the entire mouse, hopefully this makes sense. And that's honestly the vibe I get, because like when I put the Lamzu in my hand, I'm like, okay, I'm getting ZA vibes here a little bit. Then when I come over here to the U2, I'm like, well, no, it actually feels more like the U2. And honestly, what it is if you like combine these two mice just mildly as far as the hump, if you take like the ZA, but then the hump structure of the U2 and put it over here so it's not so bulbous here in the middle, it's a little bit more flat and flows a little bit more, that's where you're going to come in with the Lamzu Inca. That's exactly what this mouse is. So no, it's not a ZA, no, it's not a U2, but if you mix these together just slightly, that's what you're going to get over here with the Lamzu. But of course, this is smaller, so no, it's not a ZA11. What is it? The ZA13, I believe, is the smaller one. So think about it more in that shape right there. But still, it's a pretty nice universal type of mouse. We'd put it in like the class of the G Pro or maybe the S1. That's probably where this would sit in that type of shape. So now let's go and take a look at the build quality of the Lamzu Inca. And y'all know I pull out the force gauge meter, so I'm not just sitting here saying, oh, I grip it super tight or I don't grip it tight. We kind of got a base test here. We'll press into the mouse in pounds and see if we get any flex. And I don't do this beforehand. I do this live with you guys. And my goal here is not so much seeing do we have flex, but hey, will it break? I'd rather mine break than yours break, right? So pressing over here on the buttons, I would say, let me see this again, right around 15 pounds, I kind of feel the side going in and the top starting to flex a little bit there. That's kind of interesting. So if I press on the side of the mount, I am getting some flex. I doubt the camera can pick that up right there, but I'm pressing it very hard. Like my tips of my thumbs are starting to hurt. And as you saw, that was 15 pounds. If we come over here onto the other side, same situation, right around 15 pounds, I feel it starting to go in. Now, what I'm kind of curious about is up here on the front. Not bad. I can go all the way up to like 10 pounds before the front starts bowing in there, actually. Now, let's take this back bit on the hump. I'm going to go all the way up to that 15. So it seems pretty, oh, right back here on the back bit, actually. I would say right around 13 to 14. I feel the shell just kind of bow or mold into whatever I'm pressing, if that makes sense. Just like on the side, if I press over here, I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but when I press back here, like I was stating, you feel the hump kind of come up a little bit more. When you press back here, you kind of feel it mold in, but it kind of elastics and retracts right back out to its shape. So it's not actuating the buttons. I'm not hearing any creaking or cranking or anything like that. It's almost like moldable. And again, we're talking 15 pounds. So I don't think that's going to be an issue whatsoever. I think this build is absolutely phenomenal. Again, pressing it up to 15 pounds and we're not getting actuation or anything crazy. As far as the bottom, there's no holes whatsoever on this mouse. Now, of course, you are going to have some flex on the bottom, but it's nice to see, again, it covered up so you're not getting all that gunk in there and you're not getting that easy flex, even though there's always going to be flex on the bottom of the mice. But heck, like those recent Ponage mice, you barely sneeze on them and the whole thing moves, the sensor and everything. So really nice to see us finally getting to solid bottom mice. Now let's talk about the feel in the hand as far as coating and then the skates and the glide. And by the way, I've been using the Pulsar and Lethal Gaming Gear Hyperion Soft, very nice control pad. And as you see this mouse just glide across it, look at that balanced stop it comes to. It just feels so nice and true in the hand. Now on the bottom, I did use the bigger skates. I'm not a fan of dots, which you do get those extra skates. So I guess if you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4 as far as dots, you can, but I mean, just go big skates. Like, it just feels so nice across it. You get that Zowie type of feel, just very nice and balanced. And I love having these extra dots like Lamzu has always done. So if you're flicking to the left or right real quick, just flicking and dipping right there, it's not going to dive and dig into your pad. I really like how they do that here. Now, talking about the coating, it's kind of that hybrid or in-between type coating. It's not that soft, buttery feel that we're used to like on Razer Viper V3 Pro. It's not like that, but it's not super grainy like some of the older mice. But you do have a slight texture on it. Very, very mild. It's kind of like that texture. I don't know if the camera can pick it up here, but it will pick up some grease. And say if I take my nail and kind of scratch it along it, you will see it'll lock that scratch into the mouse. You can see it kind of flowing right there as well. So there is some little grain texture on it, but it's very, very mild. Now, as far as the software on the Lamzu Inca, it is going to be web-based, so you can get the Lamzu Aurora software right here. Bam, our Inca comes right up. Let's go on and select that. And here are our basic options. You got your macros, your basic button selection there, motion sync, competitive mode, and if you select this, it'll actually tell you after turning on competition mode, the performance of this mouse will be maximized, but the power consumption will also be increased. A lot of mice are doing this competition mode. Not sure what the difference is, because even if I put it over down here to 1,000 polling rate, competition mode off, click it back on, it still stays at 1,000. So I'm not too sure what really competition mode is doing. But anyways, going here to the other side, you have your DPI, which you can have multiple increments. You can come up here up to 6, which that DPI button again is on the bottom of the mouse. I pretty much leave my mice at 1,600 these days. I never thought. I used to be an 800 DPI guy. Now I'm at 1,600. But anyways, come over here to polling rate. You can go all the way up to 8,000. I keep mine at 4,000. 8,000, I tend to get a lot of stutters. So 4,000 is pretty smooth for me. Lift off distance, and then your sleep timer for whenever you're not moving it, which we're going to go on and crank that up so it doesn't go to sleep on us at all. But really nice to have web-based software and super simple and right here. Now, as far as button feel on the Inca, they are very crispy optical switches, maybe a little bit heavier, kind of on that line to medium to heavy. I'm not a big fan of optical switches because they tend to be a little bit heavy, and these ones are on the heavier side. I prefer, again, those lighter type of opticals. And as far as pressing these down, right here in the middle, you can see there's click, and you got that little bit of space. So right here in the middle, where I think a lot of us will be pressing, they pretty much press and bottom out. But if you're one to really press on the outside of your mouse, that's where they start bouncing a little bit. So it goes down right there, and then you can see it bounces and bows out. So again, if you grip your mouse and you're more on the outside, you will feel a little bit of that bounce and flex on the buttons. But if you're more on the inside, kind of by the scroll wheel, I don't think you're gonna notice that at all. But these clicks are very crispy. And as far as the side buttons, very nice. You can see they come out of the mouse a whole lot. Look at that right there, right? Even on the bottom side, and you got that gap in there. So no matter where you press these, they're really crispy and right to the point. You don't got any excess give. You're not feeling them go into the shell. Really, really nice side buttons here. Now, just briefly talking about performance with this mouse. Again, I've only dabbled with the mouse. I haven't really given it that long-term test like I usually prefer to do. But as far as the performance, leaving my mice at 4,000 polling rate, using a wireless keyboard and wireless headsets, it was perfectly fine. It really was. Again, as far as the coating and shape, I think that's a lot of personal preference. I will tell you straight up, this mouse is a little bit smaller for me, but that's not what we're really talking about here. We're talking about that raw core performance, and it was butter smooth, no issues or anything. I think we're seeing that from pretty much every mouse these days, right? They're all performing top tier, and that's exactly what you're getting right here. So there we go. That's the new Lamzu Inca. I really hope this video was able to help you out and decide what it is, so you can decide, is it the mouse for you as far as shape, dimensions, and feel, the build quality and stuff. Not really a review, but still showing you, is it a quality product and is it the right one for you? So hopefully, again, this video was able to help you out. And if it was, please hit that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye now.